All that work for nothing, pathetic Jedi.
What's up, meta nerds? We're getting close to having a complete series of videos on each of the Separatist battle droid models, but there are a ton that are very interesting, like these infiltrators, and some a bit silly like this not being a B1. But I'm sure you'll learn that there are quite a few droids you never heard of, as these are far more obscure than even things like the A series or BL droids, so let's get into it. This is the only image we have of the simply named Advanced Battle Droid. Appearing in the story Suited in the Clone Wars comic 6.10, it looks like the illegitimate child of Wat Tambor in an IG series assassin droid, with this conical head sitting on a body that reminds me of the evil Gumby. Its hands being these simple pincers is similar to the IG as well, which was critiqued for those hands, and they even play a similar role. As the IG started off working security on Munilinst, these ABDs were protecting a Techno-Union base, and the blueprints for it were stolen by Ahsoka. The Baron droid is different from the E4 Baron droid that plagued a young Kenobi during the Naboo conflict, but they may point to a sort of droid evolution missing link. As its name suggests, it comes from the Baron line, and that line did lead to the B1, and it looks nearly identical with the main droid of the CIS that we would come to love. They were highly specialized units, having a pair of light missile launchers attached straight to their backs, allowing them to fill a role as breachers or taking out weapon mounts or lightly armored vehicles, while being great on defense as well, with a small profile that packed a double missile punch. These guys may look adorable, but the C8 Saboteur was one of the most feared units out there. It packs no traditional weapons, but with its highly advanced droid brain, they would act like more intelligent versions of the Buzz droid, aimed at much larger targets. Operating behind enemy lines in small, independent squads, they were a separate force from their droid brothers being commanded by the nearest T-Series, or acting more like Black Ops forces that took directives from the upper echelon of CIS leadership. They would carry tech to slice into enemy systems, gain intel, shut down crucial operations that could lead to catastrophic failures, or just bring their own demolition charges. Their bodies were made of sensor scrambling materials, and their tools could be packed into their main body to cover them up as well, allowing this droid to be invisible to everything but the naked eye. And for that, their speed and stealth usually prevented that as well, though they have a decent height of 1.7 meters or 5 feet 7 inches, making them one of the shortest units in the army. And this height must have been the best balance of still having powerful motivators for long missions and fast running speeds, with things built in the height range around a DUM series might not be suited for the role even if they were smaller and could blend in easier. The Colicoid Infiltrator series droid was produced by the same bugs that made the Droideka, and they really pulled off a marvel with this unit. At a cost of 33,720 credits, or about 21 B1 droids, it is packed with an enormous array of weapons and tools, from climbing claws, holographic image disguiser, liquid cable launcher, shield generator, and silence bubble generator. And on top of that, there was a mount on the center of its body that could accommodate other devices, like explosives. Weirdly enough, this may be one of the most sentient droids the CIS ever produced, as it is described as having a herostatic processor, which is the closest thing to free will we see in these droids. It was true AI that was not just reacting to programming installed into it, but it used that initial programming to generate its own models to process the world around it, to the point that the original programmers couldn't even understand it. And it did lead to the problem of them going rogue, with many of them rebelling against their commanders, and that's most likely why this is such an obscure droid despite the great details on paper. But when it did stick to orders, this unit, being about the size of an average humanoid, so similar to a droideka, but was going around scurrying across fortresses and capital ships, slicing through durasteel, using the silence bubble, a form of atmosphere generator, to patch the hole left behind and avoid any automated systems in the ship that would detect hull damage. Then it could use the holographic disguise to make it look like whatever it wanted, of a quality like we saw used by Bane, and then silently slice through the flesh of Republic personnel. And if it was spotted, the shield generator could allow it to escape, or allow it to finish the mission and destroy a system even while taking fire. The CWW-8 was made by the Neimoidians themselves and produced throughout the Clone Wars and even into the Imperial era, being a modified version of a CLL-8 binary load lifter, replacing those lift arms with heavy blaster cannons and made of thick enough plate armor to harmlessly deflect most small arms fire, making it on par with something like the advanced Spider droid. HK-47 would reactivate one in an Neimoidian factory on Mustafar, hoping to use it to create his own personal droid army. The EG droid is like a specialized upgrade to the IG-100 and built or at least contracted by the Intergalactic Banking Clan. And its access to red lightsaber blades might point to Dooku bleeding crystals from captured Jedi sabers, but more likely it points to a bit of original canon where even some Jedi had red sabers, like Depa Billaba, Adigalia, and even Peel, all having red sabers at one point. I've seen people saying that this is from them being synthetic crystals, but as this user points out, many Jedi had synthetic crystals, and they came in all colors. They do seem to have gone for red to intimidate the Jedi, be they captured crystals that were altered or purely lab-made artificial red ones. They got pretty good at producing these, as each of them would wield 2 of these red lightsabers at a time. General Grievous acquired an expensive EG droid, the EG-07, for covert operations unknown to the Separatist army. He discovered an ancient superweapon on Mustafar capable of releasing a deadly virus. With EG-07's assistance, Grievous planned to overthrow Count Dooku and take over the galaxy. He sent the droid to find the weapon, which was hidden beneath Mustafar's lava by the Jedi of the Old Republic, and it reported back on the mission's progress, but their transmission was intercepted by R2-D2 on Skytop Station. After R2's rescue, the Jedi learned of Grievous's plans, while Grievous was off to drill into Mustafar's core to access the superweapon. He positioned a battle sphere similar to Skytop Station above the planet, and the Jedi began their investigation by sending Jedi Master Luminara Unduli and Commander Gree to steal Separatist recognition codes from an archive in Grievous's castle on Vasek's third moon. Using these codes, the Jedi infiltrated the Separatist-controlled space of Juma 9 and located the superweapon on Mustafar. Grievous prepared to use the battle station's super lasers to charge the weapon and unleash the virus, which would annihilate all life in the system. The Jedi team, including Anakin, Ahsoka, Kit Fisto, and Commander Cody, were all trying to prevent the weapon from being charged, but EG-07 did hold them off long enough to get the weapon charged, a battle which would cost its life. The heavy OG-9 replaces the lower laser cannon with a pair of minigun-style rotating laser cannons like a pair of Z6s. These do not fire bullets like a slug thrower, so it wasn't as much of a logistical nightmare as you might have thought when you first saw it, but it does serve a good role, as a pair of miniguns could fire for longer than the burst-style sweeping laser beam. The Harvester is classified as a 4th class battle droid, but is also a droid walker, being an enormous DSD-1 style walker that used to strip mine whole planets. When the CIS discovered that the flora on the planet Hisrich could be easily processed into a potent fuel, they would end up fighting against Mace Windu and his squad in their efforts to keep the green oil flowing for the war machine. HK-77 hopefully got some engineers executed over in Separatist space, as it was their attempt to reverse engineer the infamous HK-47. It could talk and does use a heuristic processor like the infiltrator, so it seems like this great tech was reserved for obscure droids and surprisingly the Tri-Droid, but one major design flaw would ensure that this particular droid never caught on. In an army that seemed to master the idea of modular designs with endless variability, this thing had blaster arms, making it awfully hard to be an assassin when you can't even open doors or use vehicles or any other type of weapon like, let's say, explosives or snipers, basic staples for assassins. Its quadranium armor made it nearly impossible to destroy, so this to me sounds like a maddening existence where you are a genius, unable to die, trapped as a blaster-armed assassin. Perhaps that's why it turned so sadistic, as it was said to mentally torture victims by capturing them and allowing them to escape and track them down repeatedly. I presume it had to blast through doors in order to do this. And to make it worse, after the war, many were redesigned to be firefighters by swapping out the blasters in their arms, not exactly living up to the HK-47 legacy. Let me pause and thank this video's sponsor, Boot.dev. With their help, you'll learn back-end web development from start to finish in the Python and Go programming languages. The folks at Boot.dev believe the smartest way to learn to code is to make sure you're never bored. Boot.dev is online, self-paced, and feels like a captivating RPG game, a platform designed to get you writing a ton of code, because getting your hands on the keyboard and shipping projects is the only way to really learn. I've been plugging away on the Python course, and I have absolutely no training in coding of any form, but I am starting to gain an appreciation of how code is logic come to life. There's something really cool when you understand it and it all comes together. And if you do get stuck like I did, I just got Boots the Bear Code Wizard some salmon with the points I gained from completing other tasks. He doesn't just give you the answer outright, but helps guide you to it. Though if you are ever completely stuck or just want to see how the instructor wrote the code, there are solutions available for every challenge on the site. And you can check out all their content for free in guest mode. The paid membership unlocks interactivity in the game that goes with it. So click the link in the description box and use my code MetaNerdsLore to get 25% off your first payment for Boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or your first year, depending on a subscription you choose. Thanks again to Boot.dev. The Hunter-Seeker droid was a unique droid starfighter used by the Trade Federation for defense, primarily to protect the C-9979 transports, and its design was inspired by the Droideka. Typically deployed in space in their wheel form to conceal their weapons, these droids would float until an enemy appeared and then unfold into their attack positions. Although dangerous in groups, a single blast from a standard starfighter laser cannon could destroy a Hunter-Seeker. The mercenary Vana Sage encountered them on her mission to Eos shortly before the Battle of Naboo. and they were used as, quote, observer droids overseeing her tests on the new Scarab class droid starfighter. After the test, the Trade Federation sent mercenaries and hunter-seeker droids to attack her, and she successfully defended herself and investigated the factories on the planet. Many hunter-seekers were deployed to defend the Trade Federation mining installation and were released from specialized dispensers, and some units also protected Shu Mai's compound during the Battle of Felucia in 19 BBY. The IG-110 lightsaber droid may solve the question with the EG, as it is confirmed to use synthetic lightsaber crystals, and wield a pair of them, and are of the IG line, so I think it's safe to say that they were all designed by Hollow One Mechanicals, which was owned by the Banking clan, giving it the IG name. The LR-57 combat droid, also known as the Retail Caucus droid or Retail droid, was in a way a kind of sensor and mine. These bipedal droids had 2 upper limbs, each ending in a pair of blaster cannons, for 4 in total, and they could remain dormant for long periods, with their sensitive dorsal antenna scanning for specific signals, activities, or disturbances, allowing them to function as autonomous mines. They're quite tall at 2.58 meters or 8 feet 6 inches, and we see them used best during the Battle of Christophsis, when Anakin and Ahsoka stumbled onto their path, bursting through the ground to open fire, but their slow speed would give the Jedi enough time to destroy them. We see them later being used during the Battle of Malastare, where they were taken out by the electro-proton bomb. Mega droids were a form of superweapon, a giant one-of-one droid coated in stronger blends of durasteel that allowed it to effectively function like Frick or Cortosis, rendering them invulnerable to strikes from lightsabers. They were equipped with electrostaff-like claws and were capable of high-speed flight, being able to breach the atmosphere in a matter of seconds. At one point during the war, Anakin and Yoda went to Golgotha to destroy the factory where they were being built. Though one prototype survived the destruction of the factory, it was eventually destroyed by the 2 Jedi. Morp droids were a series of small seeker droids developed by the Dark Jedi Asajj Ventress, named after the Morp species on Dagobah. Resembling 6-legged beetles, Morp droids were equipped with repulsor lifts that enabled them to navigate their surroundings. Their danger lay in their powerful electrical charges that could release on living tissue, though a flaw in their power source caused a blue electrical aura to form around them when they were hunting for targets, making them a lot easier to spot. Asajj Ventress used Morph droids in the assassination attempt of Quinlan Vos aboard the Titavian IV. There are no images of the Mosquito droids, but they were small aerial units utilized by the CIS, mostly during the Battle of Lantib, where Lok Durd deployed these droids in an effort to prevent Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi from escaping with information about his new bioweapon. And again, no image for the MR2000 series Minesweeper, but it was a very unique and useful product of Bactoid Combat Automata. An intriguing blend of high-tech and low-tech components, it was a single-minded and purpose-built machine designed for durability and efficiency, equipped with a simple metal drum at its front, covered in durable chains. As the drums rotated, the chains flailed against the ground, detonating any mines beneath the droid. Its main body was suspended by a repulsor lift, allowing it to float over the ground and lift the entire droid and drum over low obstacles and terrain. It featured integrated comm links to call for assistance and a self-destruct mechanism to deter potential attackers. But despite its robust construction, the barrels eventually wore out from the constant explosions and were designed for easy replacement between missions. While clearing a minefield, the MR200 could report undetonated mines to the central control computer, enabling other droids to avoid these hazards. But it couldn't communicate this information directly due to its lack of a vocoder, and if disconnected from the control computer, it would patrol the area it had already cleared, double-checking for any remaining mines. It was most commonly used in trench warfare, which saw the highest use of mines, and as the war dragged on, someone realized that they could be used on offense, where they would be sent into fortified tunnels or trenches to deliver death by flailing chains in such confined spaces. This is essentially a B1 in everything but name. It is just because they were the very first line released before they even called it a B1 series, so it was called the Neimoidian Battle Droid, being based on their look and designed for their Neimoidian clients. It's really sad we get no images of the refresh droid, as it was crucial to CIS logistics. They were mobile support units employed in the later stages of the conflict, paired with the IG-227 Hailfire class droid tanks in order to replenish their warheads. Produced by Hao Chal Engineering, refresh droids played a crucial role in extending the operational capabilities of Hailfire tanks. The need for refresh droids arose after the IGBC retired the Hailfires from active duty due to their limited capacity of only 30 rockets. But with the introduction of the refresher droids, Hailfires would be reintroduced to the battlefield, overcoming those previous logistical limitations. The sabotage droid was like your average Arachid-style probe, but with much more eyes, and electrical prods and bladed rotors to go on offense, not just record. But it also packs a stealth field generator, not generating a holographic disguise, but instead tech that could make you invisible, and even contains sound dampening tech so the enemy couldn't hear you. The Scarab Mark III assassin droid, commonly referred to as sleeper droids, was a creation of Sinar Intelligence Systems, a division of Santh Sinar Technologies. These pseudo-assassin droids were equipped with 3 repulsor lifts for mobility, armed with a stun blaster and dart launcher, and protected by an electrically charged exterior. The Mark III was specifically designed for capturing targets rather than killing them, adhering to the Galactic Republic laws that banned assassin droids. In contrast, its predecessors Mark Is and II were outlawed for their lethal capabilities and were primarily used by bounty hunters and separatist agents for assassins. The Chameleon has an interesting past and capabilities. Manufactured by Arrakid Industries, the Class 4 Chameleon droid stood 2 meters tall and had 4 articulated pincer legs for mobility, along with a repulsor lift to help support its cylindrical body. These legs could generate traction fields, enabling the droids to walk vertically and even upside down. Capable of operating in a wide range of climates, these droids were deployed to planets via hyperspace pods. Shortly before the Clone Wars, these droids were redesigned for service in the Separatist droid army. Their chest sensors were replaced with 3 laser cannons, while their storage bays, originally containing blaster charges for mining, were upgraded to hold 24 military-grade fragmentation mines. Additionally, they were equipped with a holographic display for camouflage, which worked by scanning the surroundings and computing viewer locations to project a backdrop. However, the camouflage was ineffective if the viewer's angle changed slightly, revealing the droid before it could adjust. Although not a true cloaking device, it was still effective at evading stationary visual sensors. The primary role of the Chameleon droid was not frontline combat, but covert operations. It was designed to infiltrate enemy lines, lay mines, and carry out assassinations or sabotage against Republic targets. A common tactic involved laying a large number of mines around a target while camouflaged, and then opening fire to drive the enemy into the mined area. The simply named Stealth Droid was a 4-armed battle droid that had a type of portable cloaking device. All we know is that General Grievous used a squad of stealth droids for an attack on Bandamir, and that these arms could be modularly swapped out with blasters, buzzsaws, or flamethrowers in whatever combination you wanted. Super Buzz droids were, well, supersized versions of the Pistoika sabotage droids. Armed with laser cannons on either side of their main body, unlike standard Buzz droids which had green outer casings, Super Buzz droids featured red casings. These droids were specially designed to target larger ships rather than starfighters. Though rarely deployed, they were known to be used during the attack on Setawan. The only known vessel equipped with Super Buzz droids was the Subjugator-class heavy cruiser, the Devastation. This has no details on it, it's just called the Trade Federation Probe, but it looked too cool not to include. Next we have an unidentified droid, but seems to be between the B-1 and Commandos, and were used by the mercenary droid ADW-4. The Union Sentry Droid, or USD, was a battle droid model developed by the Neimoidian droid factory. This 6-legged droid was specifically designed for use on rugged terrains where other droids struggled to move efficiently. Though the USD proved to be an effective war machine, it was only deployed for a short period as it was developed toward the end of the war. These would also be revived by HK-47 during the Galactic Civil War era, on that droid factory on Mustafar. Variants of the USD include GK-5 Sentries, the USD-class Pulverizer, the Doombringer, GK-14 Defenders, GK-18 Sentinels, and the GK Oppressor. The updated battle droid was an advanced 4th degree droid, designed to replace the B1 series in 20 BBY. It's humanoid in shape and was described as, quote, the most perfect series of battle droids ever conceived. They'll be unstoppable killing machines. When the Grand Army of the Republic learned of its existence, they launched an attack on the factory, but the battle droid army successfully eliminated all clone troopers and returned its plans to the Confederacy. Due to the high risk of it being leaked, no extra copies of the plans were made. But upon discovering that the B1 series battle droids would become obsolete once the new model was produced, a B1 would destroy these plans. But to confuse the family tree even more, there is the updated B1 droid, a model that looks like the B1 but has red photoreceptors, and was armed with a single blaster and had exceptionally upgraded armor plating. When not in attack mode, the battle droid was encased in a gray shell that made it appear unarmed. When activated, the shell would open, releasing this updated B1 inside, and that shell would quickly disintegrate. During the Clone Wars, 4 of these battle droids escorted San Hill and another banking clan representative to the Quingaris Deluxe Droid Systems factory, located on a planet near the Coruscant system. The 2 banking clan members threatened the factory master Quingaris, who had taken a loan from the banking clan, demanding he repay his debt by building this new type of battle droid at a rate of 40,000 units per week. The man refused to switch his production lines, complaining that his family would starve as a result. In response, Hill activated the 4 battle droids to kill Quingaris, but Obi-Wan Kenobi had arrived just in time to save the Tong, having fortuitously landed at the factory to get his astromech repaired. he would slice through 3 of them and use the Force to crush a 4th. The bankers hastily departed, and Kenobi convinced Quingarius to accept Republic aid. They agreed to have all of the Republic's astromechs maintained at his factory, helping him repay his loan and prevent the production of millions of new war droids. The V2 Commander droid, priced at 10,755 credits, was designed for surgical strikes rather than frontline combat. Typically operating in small groups of 4, these droids excelled at using explosives to achieve their goals. Some were modified for bomb disposal tasks and could also function as EVA shipjackers. Highly effective in their roles, many V2 Commander droids survived the war and were subsequently utilized by private mercenary groups. But that's it for the 29 most obscure CIS droids. I really wanted to include them. Comment anything new you learned or your favorite ones. Mine was the Colicoid infiltrator, but comment yours down below. Or even something that I might have missed. Please hit that like button, it really is the best way to help me out. Subscribe to see more and check out these videos, I'm sure you'll like them. But most important of all, remember, it's the most obscure creations that get the best tech. And the Force will be with you, always.